Used to the sensation of vaginal contractions, but when his penis was in me, it seemed to prevent the contractions. I still had them, but it was hard to feel them, and if he had been moving during the orgasm, I might not even have known that I had one. Orgasm 186. Orgasm during intercourse is mote of a diffused total mental and physical trip, whereas a clitoral orgasm involves a tremendous sense of physical pleasure and tingling in the whole lower pelvic area and vaginal contractions. Intercourse orgasm has a deep tingly effect over my whole body. Orgasm during masturbation is a concentrated extreme tingly effect in basically my pelvic area. Orgasm is more diffuse when I am emotionally aroused with my partner, but more specifically genital during masturbation. During clitoral stimulation, the unbearable pressure is suddenly dissipated, my raw nerves stripped. During intercourse, my whole body is involved and feels tingly, especially my hands and feet, and my husband says the vaginal walls quiver. Masturbation is the most intense type of orgasm I have. It is centered in my genital area and upper legs. During intercourse when I am on top, there's no my whole body, especially my arms, hands and face, feel a very intense tingling. I have two types of orgasm, clitoral, during masturbation, or oral sex, in which I feel warmth and pressure in the genitals, my muscles become tense, and then there is a fantastic rush from my toes to my head, then an explosion in my clitoris. Afterwards I feel high for a half hour or more. It is very intense. During intercourse, it is not as intense. I feel the deep thrusts, then a general rush from toes to head, and after, I'm numb in my arms and legs. During masturbation, I experience a clitoral orgasm that approximates my idea of male orgasm, a build-up of overall sensation in the general area of my clitoris, and a muscle spasm feeling. A vaginal orgasm is a more pervasive sensation through the whole body, less concrete to describe wider waves of feeling. A masturbation orgasm is physical and somewhat localized. It involves a building of tension in my legs and 187 the height report. Buttocks and probably my whole body. When released, there is a throbbing contraction of muscles in my anus, vagina, and if I am really with it, my whole body jerks with the contractions. Non-masturbatory orgasm is very subtle. I can build up to it like in masturbation, and then there is some sign of orgasm, or it can come upon me and even I don't know it's there until I become aware of the post-orgasm symptoms. Orgasms not during intercourse are usually more defined due, I think, to the concentration of attention. However, I find intercourse more erotic and hence more satisfying. Clitoral orgasm is more explosive and intense. Vaginal is a slower rise and slower decline in feeling. Clitoral is more intense, intercourse orgasm vague. During clitoral stimulation, the orgasm is so intense I can't believe it. During intercourse, it comes on by surprise, just flowing smooth and deep. Clitoral orgasms are more tense, but not as good an all-over feeling. With direct stimulation, the orgasms are stronger without. They are weak and unsatisfying and extremely frustrating. My orgasms when I masturbate are fantastic and make orgasm during intercourse, usually, seem awful. Clitoral orgasms are stronger and sharper. Sometimes during intercourse, I have almost a missed feeling. Orgasm, but more diffusely satisfying through intercourse. I have clitoral orgasms when I masturbate and occasionally vaginal orgasms during husband-wife intercourse. I wish I could have the same type of orgasm I have during masturbation when I have intercourse with my husband. Orgasm 188. However, some women emphasize the overall body pleasures of orgasm during intercourse and thereby saw orgasm during intercourse as stronger. Intercourse orgasms are stronger, better, and satisfy my whole body rather than just the genital area, the way direct stimulation does. Masturbation is the fastest and most technically proficient, but the overall and entire body effect of intercourse is the richest and longest lasting. Intercourse is better because the pressure of the penis adds to the pleasure, also the weight of the body, the caresses, etc. Intercourse is more intense because it has more emotional impact. Intercourse is more emotional, abandoned, high, joyous. Orgasm during intercourse is more violent, muscular, rather than just that warm good feeling. With no penetration, orgasms seem lighter and freer. Clitoral orgasms involve less of the body and seem rather shallow and empty, less satisfying. Clitoral stimulation orgasm is more intense and racking, but less pleasurable, slow and sexy. Orgasms with my vibrator are stronger and more prolonged, and not distracted by all the other stimulation. However, the pleasure and other sensuous reinforcement during intercourse make up the difference. Intercourse is stronger emotionally and is a better, more whole feeling. But for outright getting it done, me wanting 5 or more orgasms, masturbation is better. Clitoral contractions feel more intense and it is easier to differentiate one from the other. During intercourse, the sensation is more diffuse, and it's hard to count the contractions. The feeling is felt all over. Both types are groovy, but intercourse is better usually, because I like the sensation of closeness and the pressure of my whole body, and especially my breasts against the man's. Man's. But clitoral orgasm is 189 the height report. More intense and sometimes gives more complete relief. Often, I have both types of climaxes in one evening. Masturbation orgasm is quicker and more intense physically, but there is an emptiness or isolation following. Clitoral orgasms are more intense and make me feel tingly all over. On the other hand, intercourse orgasm is a deeper and more overwhelming feeling. Clitoral is very intense, but less deep and full. There is no qualitative difference, only a difference in richness, fullness and emotional satisfaction. Orgasms with penetration seem to involve my whole body and mind more. They sort of flow, whereas orgasms I have while masturbating just seem to involve satisfying my horniness. There is more total physical and psychological involvement during intercourse orgasm, which is less focused on my genitals. Vaginal orgasms are deeper, more releasing, more satisfying, better both psychologically and 191 the height report. Also reported that not only were contraction patterns stronger in masturbation orgasms than in intercourse orgasms, but also that their study subjects gave the same subjective opinions. As a matter of fact, the highest cardiac rates of all the orgasms they studied occurred during female masturbation. Is the feeling of orgasm weaker during intercourse because of the presence of the penis, or because of other factors? There may, for some women, be an increased intensity in orgasm during masturbation because of being totally unself-conscious when alone. My orgasm is more powerful when I'm alone than when I am with a partner. As I am coming, when I'm alone I usually wish someone were with me to hold me and be in me, but when someone is there the orgasm isn't as powerful because I'm holding back and thinking about what they are thinking of me. Masturbation orgasm is better, probably because of psychological factors like not having to concern myself with someone else's pleasure, or with my own feelings of fear and insecurity about their feelings about me. But other women felt just the opposite. Intercourse is more acceptable than masturbation, and therefore one can let go more then. Physically, I feel much more excited with penetration, and this affects the depth and intensity and loss of self-consciousness of my orgasms. Also, the women in the Masters and Johnson experiments were not alone when they masturbated, and Masters and Johnson found their orgasms to be stronger during masturbation than during intercourse. Orgasm 192. Perhaps orgasm during masturbation is stronger because you can get the stimulation more perfectly centered and coordinated, including your leg position. For me, the intensity seems to depend on 1, not rushing the orgasm, but trying to hold on as long as possible when the peak excited stage has been reached. The longer I hold on, I can't wait longer than about 1 minute at that stage, the more intense the orgasm. The second factor is 2, letting go at just the right moment. This leads to very intense orgasms. If I let go too soon, or a little too late, I have a less intense orgasm. What I mean is, have you ever had that feeling that it was almost getting it, but not quite, and you wanted to say, move over just a little bit, but you didn't and you came, but it wasn't just really making it? Another reason why orgasm, without intercourse, could feel stronger, is the absence of body movement of the other person that is going on during intercourse. I am more aware of every nuance when I'm not at the same time engaged in vigorous intercourse. My body seems more wholly responsive and involved, and I can feel shock waves traveling to every extremity. Clitoral stimulation orgasm is better because I am not distracted. I cannot concentrate on my orgasm when somebody is pushing themselves in and out of my vagina. Penetration with clitoral stimulation feels good if the penetrating object is not moving. If my partner is moving too fast, I don't feel the orgasm as effectively as I would otherwise. Clitorally stimulated orgasm is more erotic and sensitizing, whereas, with intercourse orgasm, maybe the discomfort of the partner thumping on my body distracts me. On the other hand, orgasms during intercourse may feel stronger psychologically because of very real feelings for 193 The Hite Report. The man, or because we are culturally conditioned to feel intercourse, is the highest expression of our sexuality. I can't answer which feels best, because conditioning has been too important a factor for me to be definite about it. Because I have striven for a vaginal orgasm, I probably attributed undue intensity to it in relation to clitoral orgasms, which I considered almost illegal. I feel that it is more acceptable to orgasm during intercourse, that it shows my womanness more, and so I guess I let myself revel in the sensations more. I guess the mystique of joining affects me. I attach a quality of transcendence to orgasm with penetration that orgasms without don't have. Orgasms during intercourse may feel more whole body partially, because there is usually a longer build-up period than during masturbation. Sometimes, if it's an orgasm that occurs early in the lovemaking, then it's more limited to excitement and tension, and a sort of explosion or relief in the clitoral area. But when the lovemaking is more lengthy, it affects my whole body really from head to toe. My second husband used to make love with a sort of massaging motion of my entire body, and this may have made me enjoy vaginal orgasms more. Orgasms were more localized in fast fucks, and more diffused in longer lovemaking. However, none of the factors just mentioned changes the basic conclusion that the physical intensity of orgasm per se is greater for most women when intercourse is not in progress, and especially during self-stimulation. Despite this, a majority of women stated flatly that, no matter what the difference in feeling might be, they would always prefer orgasm during intercourse, because of the psychological factors of sharing with and being loved by another person, the warmth of touching all over, body to body. Orgasm 194. Love of another is what makes intercourse orgasm better, in its way, and self-manipulation is more intense in its way. Orgasm during intercourse is less intense, but more emotionally satisfying. With penetration, I feel more whole and loved. I feel the contractions less during intercourse, but I enjoy the feeling of fullness, and psychologically, being seen as complete. Clitoral orgasms are more intense, but intercourse with love is more fulfilling. Clitoral orgasms are stronger, sharper, but intercourse orgasms are better, probably because I like to hold on to him. Masturbation is lonely. Intercourse orgasms are better. They involve my soul, while masturbation simply staves off insanity. During masturbation, I may achieve orgasm 5 times and really enjoy it, but not be fulfilled. The orgasms are not as satisfying as through intercourse. They are less emotional, less deep, less meaningful. Vaginal ache. There is a very specific, but important question that has been saved until last, something that will be referred to throughout this book as the phenomenon of vaginal ache, that is often perceived as the desire for vaginal penetration. It is part of the same question just discussed, i.e., the difference in feeling between orgasm with intercourse or without. This feeling of intense desire, or ache desire to be filled, comes during the build-up to orgasm, very near the moment of orgasm itself, and then spills over into the orgasmic contractions. What happens is this. Sometimes building up to and just at the moment of orgasm, there is an intense pleasure or pain feeling deep inside the vagina, something like a desire to be entered or touched inside, or just an exquisite sensation of pleasure, which we call vaginal ache. It is an almost hollow. 195 The Hite Report. Feeling, and is caused because the upper end, the deeper portion, of the vagina is ballooning out, expanding into what has theoretically been pictured as a little lake for the collection and holding of semen. Some women perceive this feeling as hollow, empty, and unpleasant, while others find it intensely pleasurable. Whether you prefer to have a penis there or not at first moment depends on your own personal preference, of course. Course. For most women, vaginal ache is not felt so intensely with a penis present. The penis seems to soothe and diffuse the feeling, so it depends on whether you prefer to feel the sensation or not. Without intercourse, the sensation of vaginal ache was described like this. I feel an urgent yearning way deep inside to envelop and take him inside me. During arousal, there is a craving in my vagina which is, by the way, disappointed if satisfied. I feel empty without intercourse after clitoral stimulation. My vagina throbs and is screaming to be filled. First I stimulate my clitoral area, pulling the skin up toward me. My vagina begins to feel open, wanting to be filled, or penetrated, but it ruins the whole thing if it occurs, maybe because it is too generalized. Maybe if the particular spot could be touched, wow. At the moment of orgasm the feeling is the most intense. But if there is penetration at that moment, I lose the whole thing. My vagina becomes very aroused during clitoral stimulation, and I start to crave contact there, either penetration of the penis, or just reaching in and touching with a finger. Sometimes while masturbating, I'll feel the urge to push something up me, usually always I am disappointed with the result. After cunnilingus, just at the moment she reaches orgasm, she likes me to place my tongue in her vagina, as it seems to soothe the ache. Orgasm 196. Just at the moment when I orgasm, there is a beautiful, painful feeling in the vagina. Clitoral orgasm makes me want penetration. It feels like the top of the vagina is screaming for pressure. Vaginal orgasms are more releasing. Clitoral orgasms leave you wanting the other kind. Clitoral orgasms make me desire intercourse. I can get high on clitoral stimulation, but I like intercourse after. Clitoral orgasm is exciting and a great prelude to penetration, while vaginal orgasm is a feeling of completeness. Yes, the two orgasms are different, but hard to explain. Vaginal penetration is more like the storm followed by calm, whereas orgasm without penetration is still one of desire. My vagina feels like a desiring hole just before orgasm. But then orgasm causes me intense pleasure as long as I don't put anything there, or at least sharper pleasure. My feelings get diffused with something that I feel less desire for another orgasm, but also less satisfaction. This itchy feeling can continue after a clitorally stimulated orgasm, no penis pressure, because clitoral orgasms with no penetration only leads to more arousal. I feel as if I can have orgasm after orgasm clitorally, but I am completely satiated with one or two orgasms by intercourse. During intercourse, there seems to be more finality and less desire to continue having more orgasms, whereas clitoral are more easily repeated. Orgasm during penetration gives me a deeper satisfaction, ordinarily. I think it's the hitting of his whole body against my lower legs and bottom that triggers this relaxation, in addition to the penetration. Clitoral orgasm is great as far as it goes, but I still feel quite tense, by comparison, when it's over. 197 The Hite Report. Conclusion. We have seen in this section that, with the presence of a penis, the orgasm and contractions are felt less concretely, and that the vaginal ache as well is either soothed or not felt during intercourse. In general, then, vaginal penetration, or the presence of a penis seems to have a soothing, diffusing, or blanketing effect. There are two ways of interpreting this phenomenon. You could say either, 1. During intercourse the penis works as a pacifier, the touching and rubbing kills feeling, allows less intense contractions and sensations, and disperses and diffuses the focus of orgasm, making it less intense and less pleasurable. 2. During intercourse the penis, by soothing or quieting arousal, gives more of a feeling of peace and completeness, relaxation, and satisfaction, than non-intercourse orgasm, which in many cases only leaves you a second later with continued arousal. Thus, intercourse, actually, with or without orgasm, is more fulfilling than orgasm without intercourse. Whichever you prefer is a personal decision and a matter of temperament, whether you define pleasure as desire, or its satisfaction. Is the greater pleasure desire, arousal, or its fulfillment? Finally, you could prefer either sensation at different times. I cannot describe the difference, it is neither better nor worse, just different. Sometimes I want penetration, and other times I'm happier engaging in other activities. It depends on my mood. Just a general thought about the relationship between the type of orgasm I have and the frequency I desire. I find that if I don't have intense orgasms due to clitoral, direct, stimulation often enough, I go through sex always thinking about that, and wanting it and focusing fantasies on it. I'm never as completely satisfied. If a week goes by without that. Orgasm 198. Type of orgasm, my desire and need for it builds up. When I finally do have one, it's fantastic. But if I never have penetrations, I also get hungry for that. It's important to strike a balance. If orgasm during intercourse is vague, more or less just a release that makes it unnecessary to fuck anymore, how can you be sure you have orgasmed at all? In some cases, it was not even clear to the woman herself whether there had been an orgasm, or merely high levels of arousal. When I'm on top, my mouth is near his right ear, and I whisper what's happening in a variety of explicit ways. When I actually come, my body stops moving and I moan and sigh. Afterwards, I kiss his face all over. This whole thing varies, of course. Sometimes I think I'm coming, and then don't. Sometimes it feels almost as good as if I had come. We often ask each other afterwards if there was any doubt, and describe how this time felt different from some other time. Now, with some experience, I can distinguish between an orgasm and it just feeling good, but there have been many times during intercourse when it was a draw. I guess what I'm saying is that a good fuck without an orgasm is as pleasurable as most orgasms during intercourse. There is a deep throbbing inside my vagina when I orgasm, but I have not always been sure whether it was my orgasm or my lover's throbbing. My masturbation orgasm is very intense. My stages of excitement are very distinct, and I usually don't spend much time to do it. But there have been many times in sex with a man when I have been very excited and I have felt a rise and somewhat of a plateau and satisfied after. Then I wonder, did I come or didn't I? And I honestly don't know, because I didn't feel the explosive charge and super release. I think orgasms vary in intensity, so I sometimes think maybe I had a little one. But it frustrates me when I don't know for sure. 199 The Hite Report. Probably, in many cases, no regular orgasm has occurred. Perhaps at other times there was an orgasm, but the sensations were dulled or diffused by the presence of the penis. Some women who think they are having orgasms during intercourse probably are not. In any case, an orgasm, with or without intercourse, although it may be perceived differently, is the same basic orgasm. Orgasm is always due to clitoral stimulation in some form, and always follows the same physiological pattern. Therefore, from now on in this book the terms clitoral orgasm and vaginal orgasm will not be used, since they carry so many confused and outdated meanings. Instead, we will refer to orgasm simply as orgasm, adding any other descriptive phrases that may be necessary. Emotional orgasm. Some women who mentioned that they have a different type of orgasm during clitoral stimulation or masturbation than during intercourse meant that they have real orgasm during clitoral stimulation and something else during intercourse, what has often been called vaginal orgasm. By this they did not mean they felt vaginal contractions or intense clitoral. Some women who mentioned that they have a different type of orgasm during clitoral stimulation or masturbation than during intercourse meant that they have real orgasm during clitoral stimulation and something else during intercourse, what has often been called vaginal orgasm. By this they did not mean they felt vaginal contractions, or intense clitoral or vaginal sensations, but that they felt an intense emotional peak, sometimes felt as an extreme opening sensation both in the vagina and the throat, accompanied by strong feelings of closeness, yearning, or exaltation. We will call this emotional orgasm. Clitoral orgasm gives me a full-blown climax. During intercourse, none of the flash sensations occur, but there is a tremendous calm and loving feeling that makes me cry, kind of like having an emotional, rather than physical, orgasm. With a man I care about, penetration leads to an emotional climax that has physical aspects, but not to orgasm. I trembles. Sometimes overtly, sometimes psychologically. There is a feeling of direct communication with another person without defenses and expressed through the touching and orgasm 200. Vibrations of our being together as we two become one. If it's really good, I feel an intense wanting to suck his penis into me, inside my vagina deeper and deeper. It's difficult not to use cliches I've heard of read, but some of them are so accurate. It is a full, warm sensation in the vagina, lips, and surrounding pubic area that spreads out, plus a feeling of tremendous exhilaration in my chest. If the man is an important part of my life, I find myself wishing his penis could reach clear up to my neck, that he would just crawl inside of me. He doesn't seem to get deep enough or close enough. It's silly to explain what an orgasm feels like to me because it sounds so sentimental. I love my fiancé very much, to where my heart feels like it will burst. Sometimes it does and I get a feeling of great contentment. Well, when I have an orgasm, it's like my whole body is consumed by this bursting forth of lave that it can't contain, and I get a feeling of great inner peace. I'm usually laughing with happiness for myself and my man. First, all feeling seems centered in the genital area, and it spreads through my entire body in great waves of sensation and sensitivity. Sometimes I feel as though I want to sing, as though the sensation has traveled to my vocal cords and has set them vibrating in a key yet to be discovered. Penetration leads to a great and large feeling. If it's difficult to describe, my body is electric all over, and I desire physical and spiritual union with the other. Sometimes I'm praying to God, being one with him, and it is ecstatic joy. This kind of orgasm for me is metaphysical immersion in another world, religious, ascending a mountain. It happens mostly in my mind, which is flushed with sensation, and sends me very close emotionally to the person I am with. Orgasm, a compelling sensation of light pouring from his head and into mine. I start pouring out light to match. My vision dissolves into brilliance behind my eyes, blinding me. My body dissolves into pure light. I see nothing but light, here. 201 The Height Report. Nothing at all, feel nothing that can be named, but every blood cell is dancing and every pore outpouring radiance, and